Big Mama back at you, babies. All those sexy ladies watching my videos, wanting to learn some shredding. So people tend to ask me, they might ask me, what the fuck are you doing? They don't realize I tune differently, so I tune in fourths. And so the next question people say, they'll say, why did I do that, and should they do that? And quite simply, the reason I did it is because I tend to look at things in a more mechanical fashion. First of all, the guitar is tuned in fourths anyway. It's E, A, D, G, alright, that's all fourths. Except the second string is tuned a major third above the G, and then the E is a fourth above that B. So the only difference is your first two strings are up a half step, alright, tuned in fourths. And the easiest way to explain what happens is my open E, right, would look like this, just like yours. My open A would look like this, and my open D would look like this. In other words, it's the same chord 3 times. Standard tuning, your open E looks like this, your A looks like this, and your D looks like that. So, with that said, you have to learn 3 chord shapes just for your basic, 3 open chords, and then that translates all your scales and arpeggios, chromatic stuff, everything involves more shapes. So I switched to fourths tuning because that's what works really well for me. The downside to fourths tuning and the benefit to standard tuning, well, there's a few. Standard tuning has some benefits as well, like it's more orchestral. You can do those big bar chords like your open A minor, your open G. I'm sorry, your bar chords, your big A minor, like the 5th fret, and D minor, and like those type of chords. I can't do those anymore. So also with standard tuning, you can play all the bullshit that's already there, all of classical stuff, like all the music that has existed up until recently has been written for standard tuning. So if I'm teaching somebody and they ask me, should I switch to fourths tuning, I generally say no, unless they realize that they will be sacrificing some things in exchange for their future things being easier for the most part. So it works very well for me. I love it. I love the symmetry. I love the fact that shapes just translate from string to string to string, and I don't have to switch anything. But again, the downside, like close voicings, there are a lot of things with standard tuning you can do that I either can't do or are very difficult. So it's kind of up to you to make that choice. But God, do I have my acoustic here? I have this one. Like if I'm playing a simple song like Eagles, like if I'm playing like an open E chord, I actually have to mute the top 2 strings. Alright, when I play A, I have to mute the 6th string and the 1st string. So it's a lot of work. If I want to play a bar chord in A minor, which is on this guitar, I can't, the neck's too big. I'm sorry. That's a G. I gotta get the G with my thumb. It's a chore. But my drop 2s and drop 3s are generally much easier, and I have to learn fewer shapes. So I wish I could give a recommendation one way or the other. Both tunings have tremendous benefits. If you're more mathematical, that doesn't mean you can't play with feeling or you're a machine, but if you like sort of seeing the fretboard in a symmetrical, shape-oriented way, fourths tuning is the way to go. If you're just into strumming and stuff, or you like those big voicings, I mean, we can do big voicings too, but I don't know how to explain it. If you like the quirkiness of standard tuning, then by all means stay there. It's not worth relearning everything in fourths. And definitely don't switch back and forth. I mean, if someone said, hey man, we're doing an Eagles cover band, it's gonna pay $500, then yeah, I would switch back and forth. But unless you have some very specific gig that, like a freaking Stevie Ray tribute band or something like that, unless you have to tune standard tuning, don't don't go back and forth because it'll confuse the living shit out of you. So, I don't know, I hope that helps. I just wanted to explain things a little bit. Why I switched. Actually, what put me over the edge was the drop 2 voicings. I was learning those. I actually learned most of them, the sharp 5s, flat 5s, but it was making me fucking crazy having to learn 3 different chord shapes for each set of strings. So, I switched my tuning, and I never looked back, man. I was gigging within a week, and I sucked. I mean, it was terrible for a long time. And even to this day, since I did most of my sight reading before that, my sight reading on the really high notes gets fucked up because I never sight read. So I did countless hours of reading before I switched my tuning, and now I almost never read at all. So my reading is still kind of, I mean, I can read, but if I start getting up to like, you know, the E on the first string, you know, like way up there, it starts the E, F, G, those type of notes. I start getting into a lot of ledger lines, I start getting messed up. So yeah, if you're into shapes and symmetry, then definitely switch.